All right, so here I am out in my garage sitting at my workbench, and I wanted to make a video that's a little bit of a departure from what I normally do as far as outdoor activities. Don't worry, I plan to be back to that really soon, but in the meantime, I wanted to share with you a hobby that I've really enjoyed over the past few years, and that is picking locks. In other words, how do we open locks like these without using these? And by the way, this is a normal, what I would call a normal set of keys. I've also got some different ones. Some locks use keys like this. These are for a dimple lock. Much more common in Europe than the US, as far as I've seen anyway. And I even have a lock that uses this kind of key. It's a tubular lock. So there's a lot of variety. As I said, it's been a really fun hobby. I'm excited to show you a little bit about it. This is just meant to be an introduction, not a formal how-to. And as a matter of fact, it's even meant to be a little bit of a tribute video. There's a YouTuber that was really responsible for me learning all these skills and getting all this information to be able to do this, and I've been really appreciative of that, so I'll share that information with you at the end. But before we jump into it, let's do a quick gear check. As far as my watch goes today, I'm wearing my newest watch. This is the Seiko Flightmaster SNA411, and I've taken it off its standard strap and put on this NATO strap. It's an olive drab, kind of a military thing from Crown and Buckle. Really been liking this watch. It's been a lot of fun. And for my knife, I'm still carrying my Benchmade. It's been a great knife. As a matter of fact, I was able to, about a month ago, take a tour of the Benchmade factory up near Portland, Oregon. If you're ever in that area, I'd really encourage you to check it out. It was awesome. So really cool people, really knowledgeable. Definitely worth it. Okay, so let me get these cleared away and I'll show you how to pick some locks. Okay, so in the interest of time, I just wanted to open one or two locks for you, show you how much fun it can be. I'm not going to go through all those, that would take forever, but let's take a look at this one. This is a Wilson Bohannon padlock. You can see the WB there. And this is one that I actually found when I was out metal detecting the other day. So I'm able to combine two hobbies. There's of course no key, it was really dirty, but I was able to get it cleaned up enough to get it working. I have opened it before, so let's see if we can do that again. And before we try, I'll show you my gear for this. This is just a homemade tension wrench made out of a windshield wiper blade insert. And then I have this standard hook, this pick, and this is made by Peterson, probably my favorite lockpick company. And if you flip it over, you can see, I don't know if you can read that, but it says Made in USA. As you may know, I'm a huge fan of gear made in the USA. In another video, I said something about, Chinese gear, don't like it, and, to see made in China. Some people actually got really offended by that. I was surprised. I didn't mean anything disparaging that way. It's just that in my opinion, US-made gear, or gear made in Europe, tends to be far better quality. If you were to go online and buy a set of lockpicks, on Amazon or something like that, made in China, they're going to bend really easily, they're going to break really easily, you're going to get really frustrated. So that's just my opinion. I'm sure there's some great manufacturers out there, but again, in my experience, I always try to buy US made or European made and pay for the better quality. Okay, so enough talk, let's see if we can get this open. All right. The tension wrench in there. This actually opens counterclockwise, which is kind of weird. And you can put a fair bit of force on it. This is not a big finesse lock. Well, maybe I spoke too soon. Trying to work around the camera here. Okay, come on. Oh, there we go. Okay, I don't know if you can hear those clicks or not, but we're getting there. I'm using a lot of tension just because this lock, there we go. This lock allows for it, so got her open. And that's, yeah, it can actually, sometimes takes a lot longer, sometimes you can do it even faster, but it can be a lot of fun. Let's look at another lock. All right, so I brought out the vise for this next lock because it's going to be a little more of a challenge, I think. It'll be nice to have it held still. Here it is. Whoops, there we go. This is a Tifon or Tifon, I'm not sure how you say that. A 40mm padlock, and I just bought this in Spain. a couple weeks ago. So whenever I'm traveling in Europe, I always try to pick up a lock or two, just because European locks tend to have a little higher security, and therefore they're a little more of a challenge, a little more fun to pick. So let's get this thing turned right side up and clamped up. I'm going to use some more Peterson tools. This is a Peterson, they call it a pry bar, 40 thousandths. Really, it's just a tension wrench. And we'll use top of the keyway tension. Okay. Hopefully you can still see that all right. And then for a pick, I'll use this Peterson. This is called a Peterson Gem. And it's very similar to that standard hook you saw, only this is only 15 thousandths of an inch thick. So really, really thin to get into these tighter keyways. Okay, so if you watch this tension wrench carefully, you might be able to see, I'm hoping you'll be able to see it rotate a little bit, and I'll explain what that is, but that has to do with this higher security features of this lock. Okay, so we'll just start checking out these pins, seeing what we got. Oh, there we go. So that was really subtle. I don't know if you saw it, but you may have noticed that the tension wrench turned a little bit. In other words, the core actually turned just a little bit, kind of like it was going to open, but then it stopped. And that's because this has a security feature. This has spool pins, at least I'm 99% sure it does, to try to prevent us from doing exactly what we're doing right now. So, which I think actually makes it a little more of a challenge. So let's see what we can do. Okay, and now as I push on this pin, it's rotating backwards a little bit. Okay, now we're back to our false set, we call that. And pin right in front. Yep. Okay. Secret is to use a really, really light touch, which can be a challenge. Okay, we got a couple pins set. We got to be getting close. Way in the back. Come on. Okay. That one got set, but I lost my false set and I heard some others fall down. There we go, got it back. There, come on. Okay. We're probably only like one pin away from getting this. Unfortunately, most locks are not see-through, so I can't tell, but let's see where we can. Just got to find that one last pin that's binding us up. Is this one right in front? Maybe so. Okay, maybe not. Come on. Boy, we have to be close. I'm just going through these pins. Where is that last pin? It's stuck. By the way, I said it's a fun hobby. It can also be really, really frustrating. Okay, back to our false set. Come on. Maybe right in front again. Yeah. Okay, come on. Just going through, touching all these pins, trying to see which one. There's the guilty party to keep us from getting it open here. Okay, you can see I keep kind of going back to that false set. In other words, it's almost open but not quite, so. Oh, I thought I had it. Okay. Come on. Now I even lost my false set. So sometimes you just gotta start over. But I'm not giving up yet. Hang on. Okay, really deep false set. Come on. There. Got it. Took a little longer than I anticipated, but hey, I'll take it. So there we go, we got it open. It's a much easier way to get this lock open without using the key. let me show you that. Okay, so let's go ahead and lock this back up. And it turns out that there's a little bit of a gap right there and right there between where the shackle comes into the lock body. We can actually use that to our advantage. So if you think about the way this works, when you insert the key and turn it, you're pulling these two locking pawls out of the way so that the shackle can pop open. So if there's a way to bypass that key and just move the pawls out of the way, we could get the lock open. And we can do that using shims. And a shim looks like this. It's just a little plain piece of steel, but it's shaped really specifically just for this purpose. And so, let's see if there's a side that looks better than the other. I guess they're about the same. Sometimes it takes a fair bit of force to get these in. We'll see if I can do it for you here. There's one. Okay. Felt that pawl slide out of the way. Let's see if I can get another one in. We should be all set. There we go. Okay. So now you say, wait a minute, why didn't it pop open? Well, there's still a lot of tension from that spring pushing on there, but the pawls are no longer latched. They won't catch, so I can just do this, and the lock opens right up. So that's a really cool way to get locks open without the key and without having to deal with without having to deal with picking it, I guess. All right, so there is one final way to get this lock open. That is, of course, just use the key. So there it is. You can see it's a 5-pin lock, and since it's so new, works perfectly. Great. So anyway, there you have it. I did want to mention a couple of really important things. First of all, please, if you decide to get into this hobby, make sure everything you're doing is above board and legal. Where I live, it's perfectly fine to own your tools and pick locks that you own yourself. That's fine. But, you know, use your powers for good. That's all I ask for that. The other thing I want to mention is I said at the beginning of the video there was a YouTuber that was a huge influence on me, and that person is Bosnian Bill. And I've learned a ton from watching his videos. He has so many videos. It's been really great. So it was amazing to me to be able to pick up a whole new skill just from almost entirely from YouTube. So that was very, very cool. So big shout out to Bosnian Bill. There's a few other people you could check out. Lockpicking Lawyer is another one. I'm a big fan of his. But yeah, if you're interested in this hobby, go check it out. All right. Thanks a lot. I'll see you next time.